Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Good Dram Show with me, Chris Goodrum. Right, okay, so we've done looking at water and all that kind of stuff. So back to the usual kind of format for this week's episode of the show. And as you probably remember, a couple of episodes back, I introduced a number of the gins that were in the World Gin Awards, or entered into the World Gin Awards. And as you can probably remember, I showed you the three that were shortlisted in the traditional gin category, along with two that I thought, from tasting in round one, that were exceptionally good gins. So, and of course, one of those gins was the Big Gin, produced by those lovely people at Captive Spirits in America, who really liked that episode of the show and what I said about their product. And et voila, sent me some more, including the oak-aged one, which is a completely new thing to me. And I have some samples left from the three gins that were entered into the World Whisky Awards in the cask, or oak-aged, or whatever you want to call it, section, and I plan to do a tasting of those in due course, along with all the other ones that I've got kind of planned. But anyway, for today, we're obviously going to be looking at these two, at the Big Gin. So I'll give you a bit of waffle and a bit of information about the company then, shall I? Right, okay, so I don't really know how long they've been going for. I'm just sort of, you'll have to excuse me while I peek down to my left at their website, which is where I'm going to get all my information from. The guy behind this, there's four people behind in the company, or appears to be. The guy behind the distilling is a chap called Ben Capta de Ville. I guess that's why they're called Captive Spirits, I guess. Kind of makes sense. Apparently a third generation distiller with over a decade experience in working in bars and what have you, probably mixing drinks, and he kind of knows his gin. So he's the kind of the brain, well, not the brains behind the operation, but he's the guy that does the hard work and makes the spirit. So that's one of them. Another member of the team is a chap called Todd Liebman. I hope I pronounced your name right there, but that's what it looks like. He's apparently the next Warren Buffett, or Buffett, or however you pronounce it. God, what is it with names? I mean, anyway, apparently he's like him, only minus the money, and apparently better looking. There you go. It would appear that he is the business acumen of the company, and obviously the brains behind the funding. Third person, lady that emailed me, lady called Holly Robinson, who's the marketing and events director of the company, and personally, I think a lot better looking than Todd, in actual fact, from a picture on the website. But then, funny that, I probably would say that. And finally, the last member of the team is somebody called Erica Goodkind. Great name. Who's the Spirits Quality Assurance and Compliance Officer. So, quality assurance, she probably gets to taste it an awful lot. Okay, not a bad job when you think about it, is it? So, anyway, I don't know how long the company's actually been going for. Doesn't actually say it on their website, but doesn't really matter. It's what's in the bottle that counts. So I'll introduce it this afternoon's little lineup. Right, okay, so just the two gins we're looking at this afternoon. Firstly, we're looking at the Big Gin, which we've looked at before. This is bottled at 46%. It's small batch production, like a lot of the best boutique spirits, and this comes from batch number 61 and is bottle number 45. Botanicals that they use include savoury botanicals and Tasmanian pepperberry, grains of paradise, and obviously juniper. So that's the basic gin, and this is the really interesting one. Well, I mean, they're both interesting. They're both really very, very good. You know that that's good. I've told you that's good. So, and this is the barrel aged. Basically, it spends about 6 months, I believe it's 6 months, in ex Bourbon barrels. I think, from looking on the website and my memory, they're ex Heaven Hill barrels. So the thing is, you don't want to put it in the barrel for too long. Too long, it will pick up too much oak. And some of the ones that I tasted in the sort of like the World Gin Awards, they were a lot very heavy on the oak. Not a lot, very, you know. Whereas this one, as you can see, there's a little difference. I don't know if you can quite make that out. There's a little coloration to it, and I think when you're sort of doing things like, you know, oak aged gins and other white spirits, you know, it's all about being sort of like careful with getting the balance right. So so there you have it. Again, obviously the same type of gin, just, you know, getting 6 months in cask, and really interesting. So I'll shut up and taste some gin then. Right, okay, so the big gin. I mean, it's big. I mean, you know, it's well named, it has to be said. It's got some lovely sweetness, a lovely sweetness to the juniper. I mean, it's fairly juniper led, it has to be said. The spirit is really crisp, very clean. There's a little oiliness, a little sort of, you know, hinting at spirit character, which is what I like to see in my gins and in my white spirits in general. There's a nice sort of floral, herbal kind of axis happening. A little bit of a almost cucumbery, but not quite cucumbery kind of freshness. Little bit of spice, little bit of just slightly bitter spice, slightly woody, but it is the juniper and the freshness that's the real emphasis of this spirit. And yeah, it's big, but it's not one-dimensional. I mean, you know, I guess there's always a difficulty with perception when anything is called big or a monster or what have you, you know. And sometimes the preconception is that it's going to be all one-dimensional. It's going to roar at you. You know, if it's called peat monster, all it is just going to be, you know, gobbins of peat and nothing else. But this is really good. It's got a lovely complexity, a lovely freshness, and lots of character. So, palate. Mouth filling, big, lovely freshness, peppery, quite peppery. Obviously, a fair amount of juniper, some light berries, lovely freshness, herbal, lightly herbal, little bit of spice on the finish, but again, it's very juniper orientated, should we say. Not getting a huge amount of citrus, and getting a little bit of peppermint, which is what kind of seems to be giving it that kind of almost kind of whistle clean freshness. Lovely intensity, like I said, bottled at 47%, which I don't know about you, but I mean, I tasted the gins for, you know, the World Gin Awards, a lot of them, ranging from 40% all the way up to about, I think, well, some of the cask gins were obviously cask strength, so they were sort of almost up to about 60%, and again, for me, the ones that came in around about sort of, you know, between 45 and sort of 50% seem to just, it's had that sort of intensity. You know, some of the 40% ones just tasted a little bit watery to me, but certainly, you know, you can't say that about this one. Absolutely, yeah, really, really very nice gin. Right, okay, so on to the oak aged gin. Bottle exactly the same ABV. This is from barrel 1215, or whether it, don't know whether that's actually barrel 12 to barrel 15, or whether it's just barrel 12, 15. I don't know. Anyway, I would guess it's probably 12 barrels 12 to 15, considering this is bottle number 1020. I mean, your average average American oak cask is going to hold, what was it? Hold about 250 bottles, I guess. So anyway, that's by the by. Let's taste it, shall we? Now, the thing I noticed about sort of like cask aging gin is it seems to emphasise the botanicals, and it emphasises the herbal almost, and gives it an almost mentholated kind of feel to it. And this certainly has it. A little bit of burnt wood, some quite taut vanillins, a little bit of sweetness, but again, it's not overdone. You can still smell the juniper and the freshness of the spirit coming through. So the balance is absolutely lovely, really, really nice. And like I said, that, you know, some of the samples that I tasted were just, you know, very, very heavy on the oak, and you sort of taste them, and all you can taste is oak, and you just go, you know, where's the spirit in all of this? But this is lovely, really nice, really distinctive, really different. Yeah, nice roundness to it. Not quite as fresh, obviously, because the oak is kind of rounding off the aromas to a certain degree, but yeah, really nice. Palate. Oh, that is dangerously drinkable. Again, quite peppery, with that sort of pepperminty kind of freshness. Subtle amount of oak. The oak doesn't really start to come through until about the mid palate, and then it has again that sort of mentholated herbal character, quite prominent. I mean, you know, you wouldn't want to add anything to that. I mean, in my opinion, it is just absolutely gorgeous to drink on its own. Like I said, the oak kind of like rounds it off, gives it a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of toasty caramel. Not too much. Like I said, the balance is really very, very good. And yeah, I kind of really like it. You know, I'm not probably the world's biggest. I've tasted an awful lot of gins over the last few months to become quite well acquainted with them. So and these two are fantastically good. Really, very, very good. So it's time to sum up then, I guess. Right, okay, so not really a great deal to say apart from these are really very, very good gins. They're not actually distributed in the UK as yet. I've kind of had a conversation with them and kind of, you know, given them the name of a distributing company here in the UK. So I'm hoping that a deal will be done, and you know that you guys here in England will get the opportunity to purchase these spirits, and you know and hopefully get the opportunity to sell them to you if you pop into the shop. So so yeah, brilliant, really good gin, really enjoyable, and you know hopefully they'll end up on a shelf near you fairly shortly. So anyway, I guess not a huge amount more to say apart from if you happen to live here in Nottingham, then the next in-store tasting we're doing is going to be April the 23rd, I think. That's a Wednesday. Obviously, because of the small space of the shop, as those of you that have visited it will know, we've limited the tickets to, I think, 12 people. The last one we did was very very successful. Not only from a financial point of view, but from a, an enjoyable evening. I think everybody that came really enjoyed it. Tickets are 40 quid. You'll get to taste half dozen interesting whiskies that I've picked. So yeah, if you're about, you want to sort of pop in and be part of it, then drop us a line and we'll sort you out with a ticket. Other news is that the latest episode episodes on the brain. Latest edition of the Whiskey magazine is out, which is the World Whiskey Awards episode. God Almighty, it's the World Whiskey edition, and there's a lot of my tasting notes in there, and really nice that they've actually used a snippet of my tasting note for the Sullivan's Cove French Oak Cask, which was the World's Whiskey of the Year, on the front cover, which is really cool. So if you guys are watching from the Whiskey magazine, then a big thank you for that. Obviously the next episode, oh for goodness sake, I really ought to edit those bits out, but I just can't be bothered. The next edition of the Whiskey magazine, after this particular one, will obviously have my I'm partaking in the new releases tasting, so you'll get my tasting notes in their full glory rather than the edited little bits that normally seem to appear in there. But anyway, I think that's probably enough waffling and enough mangling my words. So all that's left to say is good dramming and good afternoon.